In this video, I'm going to show you how I installed these invisible LED lights as the primary light source in this room, and it's surprisingly easy to do even as a DIY job. Way back at the beginning of the shop renovation, when I got the model of the workshop and gallery from the designer included this incredible looking invisible lighting in the gallery ceiling. It looked like there were no light fixtures at all. These lines of light were just coming straight out of the ceiling. And I wasn't sure how this could be done, but I absolutely loved this invisible lighting and set about figuring out how to do it. Now, after some research, I figured out it was totally doable. So of course, I'm gonna share the process with you guys. I've got these really cool LED profiles. So basically these are gonna go flush into the ceiling. So we're gonna cut a little channel in the drywall and then you just mud right over them so you can't even see them. First thing here is, I guess, just to figure out and mark where we wanna put these on the ceiling.
Just pull.
Okay, so which line? I guess you threw. All right, I'm on it. Okay. And I got a new toy especially for this. It's like a drywall jigsaw. This should hopefully, we'll see, allow me to cut straighter, and it looks like it's got really good dust collection there. Hopefully we're not gonna get dust everywhere because I hate drywall dust. It just gets everywhere in the upstairs and blah, yuck, hate it. I just realized I forgot to put on my mask, but it wasn't getting dust on me, which is kind of amazing. I think it's getting like virtually all the dust. So it's pretty amazing. I'm gonna put it on just in case. Now this looks like it went pretty smoothly on camera, but in fact, I was struggling a little bit and it took me probably an hour or so to cut this first channel. The saw kept wanting to kind of veer off on its own and it was kind of late at night. So I decided to pause and come back to cut the rest of the channels the next day. That first one took me like an hour and a half last night, but I think I worked out all the kinks. The biggest problem is that I was hitting drywall screws. And since the ceiling is already mudded over, you can't see the screws, so they're invisible. I've got a fix. I'm gonna take a magnet, run that magnet over the chalk line just to detect if there's any drywall screws that are hidden in the path we're gonna cut, get those out before we cut, and that should help us stay on track. But with that, let's go ahead and snap the rest of these chalk lines on the ceiling. Got to plug ROCKLER because they just hooked up their new HEPA tool activated dust extractor. We've been using this in combination with that drywall cutter. And Cam commented this morning like how insane it was just that there was no dust. Once the screws were removed and I got the hang of using this new drywall jigsaw, it started to go quite a bit more quickly. The only thing I will say is that holding that jigsaw overhead for an extended period does get to be a little bit tiring, and I must be getting old because I definitely felt that in my back. But other than that, it went pretty smooth. Pulling this out is dustier than the actual sawing, which is pretty cool. We made a little extra work for ourselves because I went with a deeper LED channel. It's a little taller than the drywall is thick, which means we actually have to notch into the joist just by about 1/8 of an inch. So Cam and I have got a couple multi-tools and we're just gonna zip, notch out all the joists before we put these in. We got 4 of the 5 rows all notched out and just realized we got kind of unlucky. So I've mentioned this before, but this building is a Frankenstein. The ceilings are this sort of patchwork of steel I-beams with 2x12s running between those steel I-beams. So over here, the joists are running this way, and then the joists are running this way on this side of the steel I-beam. We got super unlucky because the little 1-inch strip landed right on one of these joists, right in the middle of it. So that means we have to notch out the entire length of the joist running this way. And the only way I can really think to do that efficiently is using a router with a flush trim bit to get in there. And that means it's gonna be dusty, it's inevitable, but I wanna try to keep as much dust as I can from getting upstairs in my home. Channel sponsor, ROCKLER Woodworking, they just sent me this new large air filtration unit. So we just pulled this thing out of the box. I'm gonna get it on the ceiling real quick. This thing will move like 1100 CFM of air, and hopefully it'll filter out that dust before it kind of migrates to the rest of the house too much. And it comes with this little remote. That's moving some serious air. I'll do the trick. Next up, we're gonna be installing the LED channels in the ceiling. So initially I bought these inexpensive Plaster-In channels from Amazon. Some of them, as you can see right here, were damaged and bent in the shipping. So that didn't instill a whole lot of confidence in them. Also, the opening here, I think is only about 5/8 inch deep. So for overhead lighting, having a larger diffuser and more space between the LEDs and the diffuser is gonna give you a broader, softer light that you want from your overhead lighting. So I was a little concerned about these functioning as the primary lighting for the space. And so I ended up getting something that's higher quality and somewhat more expensive, but in the grand scheme, not really that much more expensive because I think it's gonna work so much better. So these LED channels are a little less than an inch deep, and the opening is probably a little over 3/4 of an inch. They're deeper, they're wider, they're thicker aluminum. It should work better since this is gonna be the primary lighting in the room. One thing about this is you do have to drill the holes yourself, but there's an advantage to that because then you drill the holes where you need them and it's an overall more solid product. We've marked where the studs are. We're gonna drill them. We can actually use a countersink bit on these holes, and that way when the screws go through here into the ceiling, they'll sit flush against the LED channel, and there's no chance you're gonna stick up and see little bumps where the screws are in the drywall that we mud over the sides of this channel. For a couple of these, we're actually going to have to trim them, and these just cut on a regular circular saw just fine. So we've got all these dry fit up there, and because one thing I've been told about these Plaster-In LED channels is that sometimes the drywall mud you put over it is prone to cracking because they can kind of shift around in the walls. So we're gonna take some precautions. We're gonna mark where all these go so that they're straight. Then we've got corner bead adhesive, and we're gonna use that corner bead adhesive to attach all these strips to there and then screw them back in. So you've got adhesive and screws, and hopefully that'll prevent any movement of these channels that could cause cracking. Now I also have to disclose that these LED channels and the LEDs we'll be using later were sent to me at no cost by Wired4Signs, a US-based company out of Knoxville. They've got super high quality LED products for basically any lighting need. So definitely check them out if you've got any LED lighting project. I will throw a link to them in the description. It's a day later, and apparently the adhesive stuck well enough that we just forgot to screw in one of the channels. So we came down this morning and found this. There are two screws just holding it in. So we're gonna pop it out and re-glue it right now. So putting those channels in was the last thing we could do for the lights for a little bit because the electrical runs to those LED channels are gonna be hidden in a wall that's yet to be built yet. So I needed framing and drywall guys to come in and build that wall. Before we go further, a quick message from this video's amazing sponsor, The Pet Stable. The Pet Stable is a personalized pet food service brought to you by the folks at HelloFresh and based on the belief that our dogs should have the same high quality food as humans. Tex is a bit of a picky eater. Let me just show you what he does when I normally give him his kibble. You want something else? Okay. Okay. Now we're gonna give him some fresh food from the Pet Stable. A turkey casserole with broccoli. Tex usually loves broccoli. See what he thinks. Okay. He already knows there's something. I think it's pretty safe to say that Tex is very excited about the Pet Stable. The Pet Stable also has gently air-dried food. This is where he takes really good food. He runs away with it to make sure nobody takes it from him. Not only does Tex love the Pet Stable, but I love it because he's happy and it's super healthy for him. Most kibble is highly processed at high temperatures that strip it of its flavor and nutrients, whereas the Pet Stable is minimally processed at low temps to maintain the food's natural flavors and nutrients. When you order the Pet Stable, you get a meal plan that's formulated by their on-staff, board-certified vet nutritionists and made in the US without the use of artificial flavors, colors, or added fillers. Plus, the Pet Stable has 7 different recipes, so there's something that every dog will love. I suggest trying a mix of their fresh food and their gently air-dried food so you can see what your dog likes the best. The gently air-dried food is shelf-stable and about 40% less than their fresh food, so there's something for every budget. And they offer a 100% money-back guarantee on their 2-week trial box, so you've got nothing to lose except the chance to make your dog happier and healthier. Right now, the Pet Stable is offering my viewers 55% off your first box, plus 20% off your second. Just click the link in the description, scan the QR code right there, or go to thepetstable.com and use the code Medustrial55 at checkout. That's thepetstable.com, code Medustrial55. Thanks to the Pets Table for sponsoring this video and keeping techs happy. And now let's get back to it. While we're waiting for the drywall guys to come and put in the dividing wall in this front space, I want to do a quick update on some other things that we've done in the shop renovation. First, as some of you guys might have noticed in the background of previous videos, we've got some amazing new lighting in the shop space here, both in this front assembly room and in the tool room in the back half. We put in these super bright LED fixtures, which have incredibly even coverage. I can adjust the color temperature to whatever I want. They're dimmable, and I absolutely love just being able to see everything from every angle here in the shop. Along with that, we completely overhauled the electrical system for the building. Now, even if you're not great with electrical stuff, like me, you can just tell by looking at the old panel versus the new panels that there's been a serious upgrade. We've got 400 amp, 3-phase power coming into the shop. And we also went from a single electrical meter to 3 separate meters for the workshop, my home upstairs, and the shared common area. And we've kind of got a bunch of stuff stored in here now. So obviously the shop organization and build out of cabinets and so on still needs to be done. But right now I want to move into the garage and show you the beautiful glass interior garage door. And I also have to apologize for the echo in here. It is kind of insane because it's just a huge empty space right now. So when I was laying out the space, I had the idea of this garage door to separate the back half of the shop from my garage. It allows for easy unloading of materials from the truck and also allows me to move tools out of the way and pull my truck back into the shop here should I need space for another car in the garage. But having a glass garage door, that was another feature the designer added. When I saw the glass and the model, it just looked so cool. I was like, yes, I have to have it. And now that it's in, yeah, I'm pretty stoked. Next, let's head to the garage so I can show you another feature we added. And this is something you guys also might have noticed in some past videos. We added this door here between the garage and the stairs that are around the corner here that go up to my home, because there was no way to get directly from the garage upstairs without going through the shop before. And for those of you always urging me to reuse materials, which I try to do as much as I can, this door was the door that separated the front and back half of the shop. We replaced this door with double doors there that open the whole shop up better. And in the front of the building, I added this new pull-down security gate.
You want to get like a 2x4 and smack it or something?
No. I don't want to scuff it up, mess it up. It's pretty. So I figure I'm going to have valuable stuff in the gallery, valuable tools in the shop. With the full glass wall added here, a security gate was probably a good idea. And before I get comments about needing this because I'm in Chicago, in any city in the world, you're going to have a security gate in front of glass windows in a shop. For those of you that don't live in Chicago, I'll give you the insider scoop. It is not a war zone here. Violent crime has actually dropped quite a bit over the last few years here. Today is exciting because we have another major step happening. We're putting in the wall that's going to separate the gallery in the front from the workshop space here in the back. Irvin's over there setting everything up right now. Tex is supervising. Good job, bud. Good job. So one thing the guys actually did earlier is they put the 2x4s in the ceiling here that are defining where the wall is going to go. And the reason we needed to do that a while back was so that the electricians could run conduit for all the electrical that's going to go to the Plaster-In LEDs that are going to be in the ceiling in the gallery. So as they're putting up the wall, let's talk about those metal studs, because I've gotten a lot of questions in the past about why I use metal over wood. The short answer, building code requires metal studs for a commercial building, and there are some good reasons for this. It isn't flammable, it's mold and mildew resistant, steel studs are stronger, and so on. But truth be told, they annoy the crap out of me because I just want to hang stuff on my walls, and it is such a pain. Sometimes you don't have the right type of screw, sometimes you hit the wrong part of the stud and have to drill twice. It's just annoying. So I decided to get the best of both worlds. As you'll notice, I added wood 2x4s back to back with those metal studs to make hanging things from the wall a much easier process. Guys just got here to do the plaster on the drywall, separating the gallery and the workshop, and to do the mudding for the Plaster-In LED channels on the ceiling, something I am super excited about. So the first step here is just taping down the edges of the profile before we put the mud in. By the way, the reason I am not doing this, because this is something that you totally could do DIY, but in my experience, the professionals are just so much faster at doing it that drywall is something that I usually hire out. Plus, with the city grant, I had to get the contractors to do it anyways, and not gonna do work that I'm already paying for. This is just crazy. I think this has only taken them about like an hour to tape and mud all 5 of those lights. It would have probably taken me like a day, and just had to keep redoing spots where the tape isn't good, and these guys just go so fast. It's awesome. So the guys have now come back after that first layer where they built up a good chunk of plaster, and they're just doing the detailed work. And I know I mentioned it before, I mean, their first pass was like about as good as my detailed work would be, but this is where you really start to see how professional they are, how much they can just feather that mud right into the wall so you don't even notice it. So I apologize, I was out of town a couple days. I missed the finishing steps, but the wall is done. And it's a wall, but there's actually a couple cool things I want to show you. So if you remember, there were these really ugly plywood casings that were surrounding the steel I-beams here. We covered those with drywall, and it looks so much better. GC Alexander also suggested this rounded corner bead for the post, which I think looks absolutely fire. And with that, it's time for the part I'm most excited for, installing those invisible LEDs in the ceiling up front. Got Alexander, who's my general contractor. He's here. He's gonna actually help us with electrical, because as you guys know, I really hate doing electrical work. It's like kryptonite to me. We've got some really high quality, high CRI LED strips from US supplier WIRED4SIGNS, who's hooked us up with all the lighting products for this project. So we got 20 gauge, nice stranded wire. So each of these LED strips is gonna be connected to a transformer with these little 20 gauge wires. So next step, we get to actually put these LED strips into the channels. Siding step.
And pull the wire through
Pull
the
the
wall.
wire through the walls here. Okay. Hot tip here from Alexander, and I've never thought to do this before, but when you get these aluminum channels, apparently the LED strips will stick a lot better if you get a little acetone and just really clean off the channels. That is coming off. Like, you can't even really see it, but yeah, it's definitely,
The extrusion oil.
it's there. So here I was a little surprised that we just relied on the LED tape. When I've used cheap LED strips in the past, I typically use super glue to reinforce the double-sided tape on the back. But after cleaning the channels with acetone, the strip stuck amazingly well, and there really was no need for additional adhesive. I also have the sneaking suspicion that on those cheap LED strips I used in the past, the tape on the back might say 3M, in the same way that guy in the street corner is selling a purse that says Louis Vuitton. Might not be the real thing. At any rate, with the LED strips in place, it was time to install the diffusers, and those just snap right into those aluminum channels. Hot tip though, learn from experience, I highly recommend putting the diffusers into the aluminum channels while applying the drywall mud. Because we didn't do this, there was a lot of drywall mud that got into the aluminum channels. We ended up spending an hour or so just scraping drywall mud out of the aluminum channels before we could get the diffusers to fit properly. Next up, they sent us some really cool sort of rotating aimable LED fixtures that also take the same LED strip lights. So you can see it's kind of a 3/4 inch circle, and then they've got these little clips here that attach to the ceiling, and these can rotate to sort of aim this however we want it. So these are gonna go up against the wall to sort of illuminate the art. Then we're gonna have one in the front, right by the display window. Perfect. We're gonna install this light right here. This is the part where I hate electrical and you're gonna help. So we've got a junction box over there.
Yep.
You're gonna help us get the wiring in for that?
Yes.
Okay, cool. And then I'll worry about getting the drywall anchors in so we can mount this?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, all right. Moment of truth. Okay, good job. Those are really cool. Good idea. Alexander's been the GC for the whole shop, so we haven't had a proper shout out. We got to do that. He's done a great job. We're
Thank
almost done. And yeah, anyone who needs any commercial or residential work in Chicago,
SB Build.
Check them out. All right, so I'll let you take off. We're gonna finish things up.
Thank you.
Thank you for all the help. Let's get to work, Cam. Now is the moment of truth with all the lights on. All right. I am a very happy man right now. What do you guys think? Do they look as cool as they did in that model? I mean, really, that's a rhetorical question because I totally think they do, but you know, feel free to disagree in the comments. I won't hate you for it. Before we get to the wide shots of the finished lighting, I want to note that there's a couple lights I still need to install. They're on my when I get around to it list. So over here, we'll be installing another one of those rotating LED fixtures that we can direct down on this wall to illuminate art, whatever else we want on this wall. And over on the brick wall, here we're gonna have a third fixture to illuminate art on this brick wall. And up next on the channel is one of everyone's favorite type of renovation projects. I'm completely redoing the workshop bathroom, so make sure you sub a bell to get notified about that one. Much love to you guys for being here and supporting what I do. That's it for this time, and I will see you guys next time.